Prepare yourself for List Off, the gaming podcast where your hosts, Brian and Ryan, rank the things they love. 3, 2, 1, List Off!
This week, if everyone would turn to page 49 in their Tunic instruction manuals, we will begin talking about Tunic in full. How's it going, Ryan?
Good. I thought you were going to say something about us feeling like foxy.
Oh, that would have been good too.
It's all right.
I am feeling very foxy because I am excited to talk Tunic this week. But before we do that, I definitely want to know what you're playing.
I have had more time to play video games this week than the last episode, which is really good. So I did play more of the Returnal DLC. I still haven't made through all the story beats in that, but man, it's more Returnal, and that's never a bad thing.
I really want to play that. We're recording on. Is this the 1-year anniversary of the game? I believe
it is. Yeah, today.
Yeah. Ah, man, I really want to try that DLC. My PS Plus lapsed because I got it just to play the Returnal DLC with you, but I only did it kind of month to month. But that was really fun. But yeah, I definitely want to try that tower.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The tower is not co-op,
right?
But the co-op was a lot of fun for sure. I would do that again as well. But I'm trying to really push through the story beats of that tower. And it's like I said, it's more Returnal. There's really no complaints there. It is so incredible.
Do you have to how do you get all the story beats? Do you have to just?
I don't want to give anything away. I really don't.
Fair enough.
I could tell you, but it's a bit of a spoiler, and I think it's best it's one of those things. Like this game was one of those games, much like Tunic, the game we're discussing this week, where it's like, here, you're put in this world, figure things out.
Right.
And the tower does that as well. I mean, you obviously understand a lot of how the world works at this point.
Sure.
But it does still surprise you. From the little bit I have played. I've only done maybe 10 runs through the tower so far.
Okay.
The other game I played was GTA 5. I will say I'm not going to talk much about that game because I will be talking about it elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But my opinion has changed on it. I am enjoying what I am playing currently, and I am looking forward to seeing more of the story for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. And I bought a game I am extremely excited to play. And it's funny because it's one of those games that was really, really critically panned upon release. But I think the main gripe was having to do with playtime, because it was billed as this huge AAA game that would change everything. And I have heard good things about the gameplay, and it definitely seems like something that would be up my alley as far as a single player narrative experience. And it's the Order 1886. And it was $10. It was $10. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't care if it's just 5 to 6 hours. That's pretty much perfect for me.
Well, now you're out of the hype zone, so you can kind of form your own opinion.
Right. And I'm really looking forward to approaching it with a fresh perspective for sure.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, the graphics are amazing.
Oh, I know, and it's a 2014 game. Yeah. That's the craziest part. I watched the trailer. You know, when you go in the PlayStation store, they have a little video you could watch for the game. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at the graphics. Granted, I am playing a PS5 dressed up version of a 2013 game.
Right.
And all I could think is, my goodness, what a difference a year makes, because this 2014 game that is not dressed up for the PS5 looks infinitely better than GTA 5. Obviously, it has a lot less going on.
Sure.
But still, it looks really good.
That's cool. I'll be interested to hear your opinion on that game. I didn't pick it up or have not played a second of it, but I just steered completely clear of it when I heard everyone kind of disliking it. But there are those people who did find some joy in it. So maybe you'll be one of them.
I'm excited.
Cool. Any other games?
That's it for me.
Yeah. Okay. So I played a couple games. I didn't get a lot of time to play, and I'll kind of go over that in my mission debrief, but I did play some more Wonderlands with the wife, and we're having a great time with that. That is a great co-op game to just kind of go through together. Cool. We are really enjoying it. We're starting to get some good builds and playing off each other and getting more and more legendary items and weapons, and that's always more fun. And I played, let's see, I didn't play any Vampire Survivors, but that continues to be a game that I do like. I am starting to get to the, like, I think I've got a good amount of time where I'm kind of done for a while. Like, I want to kind of get the achievements. That's the thing keeping me going.
I guess I should have mentioned I did play Vampire Survivors.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but like
it's the game in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that one, I think I've put about 20 hours into it. So yeah, I consistently get to the 30-minute mark and surpass that now, and that's been really fun. So I'm doing different builds every single time.
Really, yeah. So I am playing with other weapons in the game as well, and I feel like each weapon is pretty good, especially when you hit those higher levels of them.
Right.
I actually have a game of Vampire Survivors I was playing just before recording.
Wow.
And I was doing really well, so I have it minimized currently as we're recording, because I am going back to that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Other than that, I did pick up a new game just yesterday, and it came out just 2 days ago, and that is Rogue Legacy 2.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know have you played Rogue Legacy at all?
No, but I think it was on your top indie games list, so it makes sense that you would play Rogue Legacy 2.
Yeah. Well, so I knew this game was in early access, and I completely forgot about it, and now it's out in 1.0. So I picked it up because this is a game that I played so much of on the Vita, the first game, and loved it. Never really got too far because I didn't really understand the concepts that it is one of these roguelites that, things are, you need to play to kind of progress your own skill and somewhat the rest of the game. But now that I have things like Hades and Returnal under my belt, I feel much more adept at playing these types of games. And this game, my God, looks so much better on a big screen than the Vita screen.
I can imagine.
Yes. So that game's really good. I also bought it because it's 20% off right now, and it will be a fantastic Steam Deck game. I can already tell. So I don't have my Steam Deck yet, but by the calculator, probably June, I'll be getting that. So.
Man, I'm surprised. Yeah, you haven't got the email or anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, so the Reddit community has figured out how to figure out kind of when you should expect it, because there is like a timestamp that's associated with everyone's order that you can kind of dig around and find. And I placed my order like 4 hours after pre-orders, and they're only like an hour into pre-orders.
Oh, okay.
Like time-wise.
Yeah, I get
it. Yeah, I do know that I will be getting it before July though, so that's good to know
for sure.
So yeah, that's all. That's a good chunk of games though.
Yeah.
All right, you want to get into the Tunic talk, the reason why we're here today?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, Ryan, so Tunic is definitely a game best experienced with no knowledge whatsoever. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think it's unquestionable.
I'm hoping that you would say that. So I do want to do a very light, non-spoiler overview of this game. And then for people who want to get to the meat and potatoes, then we can go into it. So Tunic, if you haven't heard, it's on Gamepass. And it is a top-down isometric Zelda-style action-adventure puzzle game. I think that's a good kind of way to describe it.
Yes.
And it's pretty much made by one guy, this guy, Andrew Scholdice. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name.
No, that's it. And he did have a team. He has actually been vocal about having others who worked on the game, but he is by far the largest contributor.
Right. So yeah, when I say top-down isometric, I mean that's pretty clear-cut. Zelda in the fact that, and I'm talking old style Zelda.
It's like NES original Zelda. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Where the game
Adventure of Link. I would say even the second game, Adventure of Link. Yeah.
Sure. And then there is some action. There's combat, which I think that is probably the most divisive thing about this game from what I've heard about other people playing it. I didn't really mind it too much, but we'll get into that more. And the music, that is definitely something that Andrew did not compose, but it is by life-formed Janice Kwan primarily doing that one. But the main get of this game is that beautiful instruction manual by artist Mako, MA-KO. That is my favorite part of this entire game, and we will be doing a reading, as I kind of alluded to.
Yeah, we'll be going page by page.
Not in, we're not going to get super in depth, but there are some things I want to point out that I definitely want to go through on the video version of this as well. So, that's kind of the base overview. Did you have anything you wanted to add in that non-spoiler section?
If you're listening and haven't played the game, definitely check out the soundtrack. It's very mellow, lo-fi, melodic music. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it's on Spotify too. It's a good soundtrack to listen to outside of the game. There's a lot of interesting tracks to it, and there's a lot of music too.
A lot of music. I of course will intersperse some in the episode here, but if you like what you hear, I would highly suggest going and seeking out the entire album.
Absolutely. But yeah, I would say if you are interested in this game, don't listen to anything that we have to say and just go play it, because it is very good. Another game that I kind of want to buy, even though it's on Game Pass, so I can play it on the Steam Deck, because I hear that's a great way to play it too.
Yeah.
So I think we should just jump into the spoilers, because that's the way to talk about this game. And I haven't heard many other people get all the way down to the nitty-gritty, and that is what I want to do with this. So,
all right. Yeah. Chronologically, we will be going through the game, basically beat by beat. Yeah.
Yep. That's it. All right, so I wanted to start with your overall impressions, because this can be a divisive game on a number of fronts, and I have not heard your opinion. I just know that you quote unquote beat it, and I want to know what you think about Tunic.
Quote unquote beat it. Brian throwing the shade early. Yes, I quote unquote beat it, because I did not play it beyond the vanilla ending, I guess it could be called, the easy ending, if you will. I didn't get into the meat and potatoes.
Insert noises.
Yeah. So you really want me to just give my overall impressions right here at the beginning, huh? Okay, I will.
I would love it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll do it for you, Brian. But man, it was a good game. I feel like the game peaked prior to the vanilla ending, and perhaps a pretty good bit before that ending. I don't think the ending was the peak whatsoever. I think it ran into a lot of problems in the late game. I was really, really, really enjoying this game to the point where I loved it. It was like, man, this is up there on my game of the year list immediately.
Right.
And then I really hit some issues with that late game where I just felt it was cheap. I think the combat didn't sing as well as it did in the early to mid game. I also feel like they did this boss rush, which always feels like padding. I don't feel like that had to be there, especially when they did such a good job with the boss design up to that point.
Sure.
I also think that the final boss was kind of cheap. It's like it wasn't impossible. I did it, but there were definitely runs where the fault didn't seem to be on me. It was just like, oh, there was literally nothing I could do. Like I would have had to go through the world and collect more things to get better stats. And I don't feel like games should force you to grind in that way. There should be, and I felt like before the last few bosses, there was a good amount of progression. Naturally, you would find enough to upgrade your stats. to where you were prepared for the bosses. Yes, you would still struggle with them. They were all really well designed in that way, but you would make it through it eventually, just by skill, by learning the pattern and exhibiting the skill necessary. And the last boss was like, no, it almost felt like I had to grind or just get a lucky run. And I did.
Yeah.
Did I like the game? Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But not as much as I thought I would by the end of it.
Sure.
And I know there was more. I'm sorry to keep going, but I know there was more to do when I finished. Like, it's very blatant about the fact that, like, hey, there is more here to discover. Go find it and you'll get the true ending, kind of thing. But I just didn't care at that point. I was burnt out. The game had gotten me to the point where I'm like, no, I don't really feel like playing you right now.
Okay. So that's an interesting thing. And I'm interested to know what pages you had by the end and how many you were missing, because when I beat it, I had the feeling that, well, that sucked. Like, there's no closure there. And the game wants you to feel that way. It wants you to think like this was not what you needed to do. There was more that you should have done. And that's what kept me going. I immediately went to my book and said, like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? And I'm interested to know if you had the pages that described your two different paths.
So I had some of the pages that alluded to it. I had like a page with maybe a text or a scroll on it that said something. I'm sure we'll get to it later.
Yes.
But yeah, I think I was missing 5 pages when I got to the end. Like a pretty good bit was missing from my instruction manual, but I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I get, all right, cool. Like I get the ending. We're good.
Right. So yeah, the true ending, as they want you to believe, is alluded to in one of the pages where it says, like, yeah, you can kill the heir and take your rightful place, or you can share your knowledge. And that's what the game wants you to do. That's what it thinks is the right way to have a completed Tunic run, basically. And I would agree with that, because I definitely felt that it was concluded at that point. And that's all to say that this is a big puzzle, and you can certainly look up anything and everything in this game, but I would encourage people to not do that, because you are smart enough. You can figure this out. Just read your book, and all the information is there. I did look things up to get that second ending, because I feel like I felt similar to you, where I just wanted to be done, but I still wanted to see everything. So it's interesting to see that we kind of both arrived at it, but kind of from different places. So I do want to go through a lot of these sections, because I think there's really interesting stuff that happens throughout the game. The game just starts. It kind of gives you a little prelude, but it just begins. You're on a beach. You're just like a fox.
Link's Awakening. You wake up on a beach, right? Is exactly what it reminded me of.
Right. This game does a really good job of hitting those little points that we all kind of grew up with those feelings, and it hits that Link's Awakening on the beach. It hits that. Here's your instruction manual. You miss having an instruction manual. Well, here's an actual physical one in the game that your character will thumb through. You can zoom in, you can see the stitching or kind of the graphics printing on it, which is so beautiful to see. I can remember as a kid kind of looking, inch by inch of my instruction manuals. It's that same kind of printing style on it.
Yeah, they're like pages with stains on it too. Like it's been used. Yeah,
it's been really used. Good. It's been written in, and it's like you got it from Blockbuster, and you're looking at someone else's musings of how they were interpreting things in the game. And I think that is absolutely the strongest part of this game, is that instruction manual. It's in a completely different language for like 90% of it, and you have to suss out what you're dealing with.
But what good illustrations, and it's just it's pure nostalgia. Nostalgia.
It is pure nostalgia. It is a beautiful way to show you what you need to be thinking about and guiding you to understand the components that are in this video game. The game does not tell you how to upgrade your items. The game doesn't even tell you what your items are. It just gives them to you and puts a number next to it and makes you figure it out.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that. And yeah, you don't get the instruction manual at the beginning. You have nothing, and you start getting page by page. And I think that was one of the most exciting things, was getting those pages and examining them.
One of the first things you discover is a page, I think.
Yes,
it's like
absolutely.
right there on the path. The only path you could take is a page, I believe.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, the game doesn't tell you what to do, but when you do have your pages, it'll say things like something about ringing the bells. So you get in your mind, I got to ring the bells.
It even tells you where the bells are, and
Right.
it gives you a idea directionally where they are.
Exactly.
I think this was the coolest thing too, being dropped into this world and having it where you had to figure things out. It's funny how much you know as a gamer. And it was,
yes,
it was awesome because it's done in a way that you make this realization like, oh, I know these things because I've played video games before.
Right.
There was a lot of that kind of piecing things together in the early game. And it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you definitely have an advantage if you've played a lot of video games and know how things should work.
Right.
But I mean, I think you texted me, this first boss is just so impossible.
Yeah, I was going to wait till we got to that.
Okay,
but,
we can.
Yeah.
So you got to ring your bells. You got to get your items. People have played this game without getting any of these items and just go at the bosses with the stick. So it's possible to do, but the game definitely wants you to pick up most of these items in a certain order, but you can kind of do things in any order that you want, as long as you have the items to get you there. So that ringing the bells is the first thing. Ding dong, you have written here. And I think at this early stage of the game, you'll know if you like it or not. If you ring those 2 bells and you want to keep playing, then I think this game is for you, and you should continue your journey. I know that some people have not gotten to this part, and you might get some enjoyment out of it, but I feel like you're selling yourself short and not experiencing a lot of what this game has to offer if you don't see all these other things.
Yep.
So story-wise, I think it's pretty light, but told in a way through that instruction manual and through some interactions with other kind of characters in there.
Yeah.
And at this point, the game is telling you like, hey, there's these keys, or you kind of surmise that there's these keys that you need to collect.
It tells you, but also at this point, you already have seen the fox, the other fox, the heir. Like that game starts out immediately with that story beat. So it kind of frames it as, oh, like this fox is imprisoned. I need to rescue her. I think it's her, right? And these 3 keys are what it'll take to do so. So I really like the environments they took you through in this ringing of the bells part. It kind of gave you a good idea of what to expect from the rest of the game, or so you think. But yeah, so the West Garden, I was running through this fairly easily. And I will say, I usually don't like the comparison to Dark Souls at all. I don't. But
I was trying to go this whole episode without saying Dark Souls. I'm just kidding.
Were you really?
No.
But people tend to do it based off difficulty alone. This is a difficult game at times, but I definitely think there are other parallels there. There's the whole looping back in your environment. There's, it has a similar pace to the combat, I would say, for sure. And
if you die, you lose a little bit of cash. Not everything.
It's not as big of a, it's not like a, right. It's not
20
right.
gems or
you
whatever.
lose like 20 of the currency. Yeah.
Right.
It's not like Dark Souls where you could lose it all, Yeah. But yes, I had the rhythm down fairly early, and I made it through these first 2 areas really easily. And I get to the boss of the West Garden. I'm like 10 tries in, and I'm just getting it down to maybe a quarter health at the lowest. And I'm just like, what is happening? I am not bad at video games. Like, why is this happening? And it seemed like such a incorrect and like blatant rampant difficulty, and I was ready to throw my controller and be done with it. And then I did beat the boss, and then I look in the manual and it ends up you could upgrade your stats, and I have like all this stuff. I have it all. I could have upgraded my stats numerous times, but I didn't because I didn't read the manual. So I did get through this whole first section without upgrading a single time. Wow. Which made the boss a little more difficult for me. But
even the regular enemies take so many hits, and you're like, I gotta get upgrades here. I need to be like mowing people down.
I was fine with the enemies actually, because it felt like, okay, maybe to supplement their combat pattern being so basic, it's like you have to hit them a lot of times. So that made sense to me. That didn't seem necessarily difficult, but once I hit that boss of the West Garden, it was like, man, oh my gosh.
Right. So that's a big interesting point of this. You can do a lot of stuff in this game. You just don't know how yet. And the instruction manual is the thing that's teaching you those things, like upgrading your stamina, your health, your weapons. You can do that all from the very, very beginning, but you just have to press the correct button. And the game doesn't tell you. It tells you a button to press, but not the button to press, which I think is so crazy.
The coolest thing is that you've gone by the monoliths numerous times and you're just like, oh, this is weird. I'm sure there's some way I'm going to have to interact with that later.
Right.
And then you get an instruction manual page that says, oh, hold A.
Yep.
And you could have done it the whole time.
You could have done it the whole time.
You just didn't know the button to press. And I thought that was so cool. I'm like, oh man, that is like tricky stuff right there. That's really good. Really good.
But it tells you, it shows you how to do that as long as you're paying attention. Right. And it makes you feel so smart when you do figure those things out.
Oh yeah.
And I took pride in, like, every time that happened, I was like, I figured that out. I didn't have to look it up. And wow, I could have been doing this the whole time. So yeah, the main part of the game is getting these 3 keys, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say the main, like, first third, maybe even half of the game, up to that point, is getting these keys. So you're going through a lot of different environments, all really beautiful, all really detailed, lots of different types of enemies. Was there anything that, like, were any of these environments striking to you in any way? Were there any that you liked more than others?
I did like the underground stuff. I think this game did underground really, really well. So definitely the frogs domain I really liked.
Cool.
That was cool. Yeah. It very much felt like a Zelda dungeon.
Right.
I did like the Great Library. It was somewhere around here in the quarry that the game peaked for me. Sure. I think. I think this was the height of the game, like the game reaching its full potential. And then it kind of like fizzled after this.
Okay.
For me.
I could kind of see that, because you're in a big rhythm at that point. You're realizing, okay, I know what I can do. I have all these abilities, and I think I've figured out how to beat this game. And then there's, of course, more to do after that.
There is more to do.
Yes.
So the Great Library, I thought, was super cool too. There's not even combat when you get there. You just walk right in and walk right up, but it's very much this old ancient library with books everywhere and diagrams. And if you look at the diagrams, it's like NES cartridges and a diagram of a Nintendo, and everything's kind of pieced together like a tinkerer was working on it. You have one of the teleportation pads that's like hooked up to a battery, basically.
Yes.
It was just really a lot of fun. And then you go up that huge ladder to fight the librarian, right?
Right.
This was a great boss fight. I felt like, I know we're going to get into bosses later, but I think it was because of this boss that I really felt like in the next one, I was like, okay, this is the good part of the game. This is great. The quarry was super, super cool.
It's super cool. It's difficult. You don't like being there, I would say.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. So I reached the quarry, I think, a little prematurely, because I was doing that before I even did the frogs domain. So I didn't have the items that I needed to really like get around. But I found that quarry and I was like, man, like I can only go to a certain point, and then the game just like starts killing me. And we're in full spoilers here, but there's just like I don't even know what to describe it as, but it's this like blackish red misty goop that just kills you if you stay in it for too long.
Yeah.
And you realize like you need something to traverse this.
It actually doesn't only take health away from you, it takes away from your maximum health.
Exactly.
So it reduces the amount of health you could heal back up to, which was if you don't have,
as a gamer, is like, oh my god, like this is an atrocity happening right now.
Right. So if you don't have the item you need, you are not prepared for that area.
Right.
And I do think they did a good job of I should say he did a good job. Andrew Schuldice did a good job of telegraphing what you'll need to do to get to some of these areas. He'll put you out in places sometimes where you're behind an object, and it kind of plants the seed in your head like, oh, okay, because it's all that isometric view, so there are obscured places for your vision.
Right.
So that kind of gives you the idea like, hey, if I move around objects to that area, there might be something there.
Right.
But some of these areas are reached by doing those things. And while it was never difficult for me to find them, I actually found the environmental puzzles extremely enjoyable.
Yeah.
I could see it being an issue for people. Like,
Definitely.
you basically have to walk around the
The
borders
perimeter.
of every environment,
Right.
to try to find where to go next. And that's not really the best mechanic when it comes to fun.
Right. But it does make you feel awesome when you do find one,
Absolutely.
or when you realize, oh my gosh, this was just a shortcut. I could have gone this way the entire game, and I just now found it.
And secrets upon secrets upon secrets. It's almost like you won't be let down, because if you keep trying to go to those obscured places, 1 out of 2 times you're going to find something there, and you won't feel let down. Yeah.
And the other big thing is that the game, again, there are things in the environment, and we'll get to this a little later, that have always been there that you get recontextualized for you once you get a certain page. There are times where you will get a new instruction manual page, and then it'll show you something, and you'll be like, oh my God, I've seen that a million times. I know what I have to do now.
I think that was one of the coolest things, because it played with the idea of Zelda games, whereas in Zelda games, you get an item. Right. And the item unlocks things for you. And this was like, no, you could have done this. Like, and you run into these objects that are very clearly colored or highlighted in a way that you think, oh, I need the item to come back to that later.
Right.
And I love that all you really need is the instruction manual page to tell you how to do it, because you had the ability all along. You don't need an item.
Exactly.
I thought that was cool.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of these environments are happening. The quarry, the monastery, the hidden vaults, everything you have to do to get the blue key. That's a wild ride, because we kind of described you're in this. It's a quarry, so they're mining something, and you slowly start to realize what they're mining. And I took it to be like there are these souls. This whole energy that they're mining is actual souls of other foxes that they are then packaging into these monoliths that are used for whatever they want, basically energy, doors.
It seemed like to supply power, because that's what they were hooking that teleportation pad in the library up to, and it uses a battery. Yeah.
So once you realize, like, oh my God, like there's an actual soul of another creature in this, and they're foxes. They're like millions of them.
Oh, I know. When you're walking over that catwalk over them, oh man, I got so mad.
I got chills walking over and seeing the extent of this operation.
When you're walking through the production line where they're putting it all together, and you get that realization of what's happening.
Right.
and they're foxes like you. I was like, these are my people. Like,
Yeah.
I got real mad. And then
Right.
like you said, you walk over that storeroom where the scope of it all is laid out in front of you.
I think that was
and I
one
was
of my
like, I am
favorite.
yeah. Like, I'm just gonna murder the
Yeah.
next thing I come across.
It does. It gives you that motivation.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful way to tell that story, because you see, like, you're in this quarry, you see that there's this massive operation going on, and then you descend this elevator, and in the elevator are just these like ghostly foxes everywhere. And then as you descend, you realize they're like siphoning them. They get onto a conveyor belt, and then they just get pushed into these monoliths. And then there's just like there's millions of these things.
Mhm.
It's so horrific.
It is.
And then you're like, I have to kill whoever this is.
Mhm.
And luckily you have a page in your instruction manual that has shown a big picture of who that is, the boss scavenger.
Mhm.
I think you get that page pretty early on, like maybe when you're around the quarry's beginning, and it's just this really big, scary like page of the boss scavenger, and it kind of tells you about that in a different language. So you already have the idea that this is someone you're going to be fighting, and then you have the motivation, like, I need to destroy this boss.
Yeah. So this actually makes me think of a good question. Did you have items that you used throughout the game, kind of like your go-to items, because you have a lot of options?
Right. So sword was definitely the main thing.
Yeah.
I got the gun, never really used it. I found that it took a lot of, I think it was the energy or mana to use, and I never really did that. Definitely that wand, that was something I used a lot. I would incorporate the magic orb, which was basically a hook shot, into my combat a lot of the times, and that seemed to be pretty good. And then way later, when I revisited the game to kind of get the ending B, I realized that you can do the whole Link's Awakening wand plus bomb, and you can shoot arrow bombs basically.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So you could do the same with the dagger and the wand, where you shoot freezing, like a freezing bolt out, which is really cool. But
see, I didn't know that, but
it wasn't easy for me to hit the buttons at the same time on the controller. It never seems to be. They're spaced out just enough to where different parts of the thumb are hitting them.
I see.
But for me, it was that hook shot item, the magic orb, and the wand and the sword. That is pretty much what I used, because there are some enemies that are really tricky as far as the distance they keep from you.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I would just magic orb them in and, get stun lock them, and they're done. Yeah.
Right. Very good. So once you get those 3 keys, then you go to the place where it's that temple, and you put them into play, and then you get to fight the air, and you will lose this fight. There's like no way you can beat the air at this point.
Yeah, my first attempt, I got closer than maybe my next 10 attempts.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, the air is very difficult. They move pretty slowly, but then their attacks are pretty quick. And then I think you even texted me like, I beat it. Oh wait, no, there's a whole second form that you have to do afterwards. Yeah. So you're meant to lose at this point. And this is where the game, like, it got difficult for me, because it kills you, like legit kills you this time. You are a ghost. You are in like a shadow version of the world. It's nighttime everywhere. And you can't go but half the places that you've explored. And basically the game says, like, you can go fight the air again, but you should probably get all your equipment back.
Yeah, because when you're in ghost form, you have none of the upgrades you had prior to that.
Right.
And
so everything you've built is gone.
Right. If you had extra HP or MP or stamina, it's gone. You're back to square one. You have no defense. You have no attack buffs. All of your buffs are gone. So to go defeat the air at this point is basically impossible unless you are one of those especially skilled, you see the speed runners and all that, right?
So, right. Yeah. So did you get all of your equipment back?
Yeah. You have to. Okay. You have to, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much, because you get one of the best things in the game at that. I think it's at that point where you get your zippy zap dash, which is like invaluable.
Right. Prior to this, you've been rolling the whole game.
Right.
And now you could, zippy zap dash. I really despise this part of the game.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Like getting the equipment.
Well, yeah. I don't like when games, but yes, definitely that part of it are like, hey, spend 8 hours building up your character to where you feel confident enough to take on anything that gets in your way. And then it's like, just kidding, you're back to square one.
Sure.
And it did feel like I get that it made sense in the story. I guess maybe it did. It just seemed like padding. I didn't appreciate any of the environments after this. I didn't care. I was like, let me just get through this, get my stuff back, and I'm going to beat that fox.
Right.
And that was like where I was at this point in the game.
I can completely understand that, because I felt a similar way where you feel powerful and then not. And you're in these environments that are like even harder to traverse, and you are so weak at that point.
It just felt like I already went through this. I already went through like experiencing how to play the game early on.
Right.
It shouldn't happen twice.
So I think one main point of this is to make you rethink how you're traversing the environment, because the game shuts off a lot of different pathways that you were probably using that were really basically shortcuts, and it forces you to find new ways to get around. Yeah. And I feel like it kind of teaches you different things about how you can now move through the environment. With that zippy zap, you can kind of jump over things. But yeah, I felt kind of similar to you in that I just wanted to get back up to snuff, basically.
I would say even in the swamp, it felt gimmicky though. It was like, oh, look, like you can't step down from the second floor. You have to zippy zap dash from pillar to pillar. And it was like, yeah, well, what? Like now this is just wasting my time trying to go from pillar to pillar. Like just put me back on the ground and let me go about my way. Yeah.
Games do this. They certainly do it where they put you in a position where you're like, I want to be back to myself. I want to have everything that I've accumulated. Yeah. And yeah, I can completely understand how that would be a little hard to deal with.
Right. And to be fair, it's not all cons. I thought it was cool that to get these items back, you revisit that fox statue that you had seen prior or earlier in the game. And even then, it showed all the different items and you're like, oh, I can't get to those. How do I get to those? But now you have the ability to get to them. So I thought that was cool. I always appreciate when it brings things back with importance. And it does that a lot. And
it does. Yeah, that was a point where you're like, yes, I've seen the statue a million times, but okay, there is something else to do with this. And now everything is restored of my HP or my weapon. There was one that was particularly hard to get, and I did have to look up that one. So the only way you can get to it is by zapping into a place. So your hub worlds or your hub, what is it? Warp fast travel.
Right.
There's one that you can get to only by zapping across a bunch of stones that is not immediately visible. So that one I was like, man, how do I get this last one? So I did have to look that one up, and eventually it all made sense. So yeah, once you get all that, then you can fight the air and complete your game. You want to talk about some bosses, or
there was some more padding here with the boss run. It wasn't even a boss run because I think only one of the enemies was a boss from earlier in the game.
So are you talking about where it in the
cathedral?
Oh man, I loved that. I loved this part.
All right, how many attempts did it take?
It took me a decent amount, probably about like 5.
And you loved it?
I did.
It took me 3 attempts, and I was like, I swear to God, if this takes me one more attempt, I am not going back to this game.
See, the part that I loved about it was like finding out, like, okay, I need to do this set of enemies because they're harder, and then I can kind of go down from there.
But you kind of already know that from playing the game, which enemies are harder. And also, what upgrades did you have when you made it to because you could get here with different upgrades depending on which ones you got prior to going to the cathedral.
Sure.
So do you know which ones you had?
I can't remember.
I think I had all but the one from the cathedral. So maybe that's why I was able to do it in 3. I think I got really frustrated as well because the first 2 attempts, I got to the last one. So it doesn't go by short. Like it's not a short period of time to get all but one done in these fights. It's
Right.
They throw 100 of certain enemy types at you at times, and it's
Right.
just like you're running in a circle, like attacking them. It's like, oh, this isn't a good way to highlight the combat when there's a mass of these enemies on screen, and you just running. Literally, I was running in a circle, fighting them, and then getting my distance and fight, and then it's just this waste of time. Basically, it took me 5 minutes to make it through some of them.
So I think, did you like the combat of this game?
Yeah, I was actually really surprised after I beat it to see that people didn't appreciate the knockback from attacking enemies with your sword. Never stood out to me when I was playing, actually. It felt like it fit within the game, and I didn't have a problem with it. And yes, I liked the combat. I really, really liked when it was those one-on-one boss fights with timing and timing your rolls and timing your dodges and attacks, and all of that felt great.
Right.
So I didn't like when they did things like throw 100 enemies at you that aren't necessarily difficult to beat, but it's difficult because there are 100 of them.
Gotcha.
There was no skill involved in half of these fights.
Right. Fair enough. All right. Well, so yeah, for the bosses, the Garden Knight, that one is that jump in difficulty. The game does tell you should be level 3 to fight. So yeah, I so wanted to tell you, like, you just need to level up your weapons, but you didn't know you could do that at that
I know.
point.
And when I saw that, I did it with like no upgrades whatsoever. Right. So when I saw the manual, I was like, wow.
Yep.
Maybe I am good at video games.
Yeah. All I kept telling you was like, maybe you should read your manual.
And I was like, I could do it, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm just going to do it.
Yep. Siege engine, any trouble there?
The siege engine was easy.
So that one took me a couple tries, but then I realized if you get up close and personal and just like stay there, you can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think it was my second try, and I was like, oh, I could just stay under this boss and nothing will hit me. And this is this is really easy.
Librarian was a challenge for me, but still really the game always did a good job of making me feel like, all right, that was my fault. I know what I need to do. I need to just kind of memorize A, B, and C, and then I don't need to get hit at all. It had that Metroid Dread feel to it.
Absolutely. I think it was a really good boss when it comes to timing and all of that, but I do think that it maybe spawned too many other enemies, like just a little bit. Okay. You know, it was useful to spawn other enemies because you refill your MP from them. But it felt like it just happened a little too often.
I gotcha.
Like I'd be so close to beating her, and then it was like, oh no, she's spawning enemies like crazy, and I have to focus on them, so I can't get that those last few hits in. But it was great. It was a great boss, very memorable. The whole lead in up to the boss and everything. Yeah,
just all the way up that tower in the sky, and very.
I know
that whole temple, that whole library was cool.
Yeah, and I know I'm bringing up negatives about the game. This is a great game. Like, there's a lot of love that went into this. It is beautiful to look at. The environments are incredible. The enemy design is great. The gameplay is good. It is fun.
Right.
There are just a few decisions towards the end of the game that didn't sit well with me, but overall, like, I do enjoy this game. I don't want anybody to think I'm just here to like poo-poo on it, you know?
And I don't feel that way. I kind of had the idea, just like cursorily talking to you, like, okay, he's not in love with it. No. And I'm interested to hear like certain aspects of that. Yeah. So yeah, that's what this is for. So Boss Scavenger, I think that one, all of these I did try a lot, like a decent amount of times, and then but I eventually beat them and was fine with what happened.
Same, and they do a good job of giving you spawn points close to the boss, so you don't have to go through a rush to get back to him, which is nice. It is nice. Yeah, man, this is the boss I wanted to kill real bad.
Yes, definitely,
because this is the one that you've run into after seeing the millions of Fox batteries, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the air, of course, which I feel like discussed a good amount. This is a tough fight. It definitely forced me to rethink my items, I forget what they're called, the little charms that they change the game in ways that you just kind of have to figure out.
Yeah, we didn't even bring that
up. But yeah, so the game gives you a bunch of different. I want to know what they're called, but I
think they are charms.
Yeah. They just make differences in different aspects of the game. Like some will make it so if you're like low on health, you'll do more attack damage.
Raise defense, raise attack.
Yeah.
Some of them are very interesting. One is the item that you need to make it through those toxic zones.
Right. The scavenger mask. So that one's important. And I think you were telling me like, you definitely need this one in the second phase of the air. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that would have been useful, but I liked to stack more of I think that the ice dagger, that was the thing that helped me the most with the air because it stunned her for a really long time. So I could either wail and do a bunch of damage or heal up and kind of recenter and look at what I'm doing next.
I didn't change my build a ton. I think I added bombs. I used my firecrackers or bombs instead of the hook shot because that's not really going to do you much good in this boss fight.
Right.
And the fight for the air it's really well done. It was one of those things where it seemed like she just either had too much health or you just had too little, and it just shouldn't have felt like that at this point in the game to me. It should feel like I was prepared for it, but it just didn't have that feel to it. It was tough to make it through both phases at the point I was, and I had put in a good amount of time into the game.
Yeah. I'm interested, and you might not remember. Do you remember what your upgrades were? Like what number a good decent amount of them were?
I think all of them were at least 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And I think I had my attack at 4, my healing, my potions at 4, maybe.
See, I think I was in the 6s from my recollection. Yeah. And there was a bunch that I didn't collect because there's a place that you can kind of see like, hey, there are all these items out still in the world. And I was like, okay, well, there's still a lot out there that I guess I could upgrade even more at this point.
Yeah. So you were in much better shape than I was. And you got there without like exploring too much outside of the main story? Or
I explored so much.
See, I did with this I was game. Like, no, I'm going to go through it. And
dude, I did every corner that I could conceivably do. Sometimes it was because I was stuck, I guess you could say, but I never got stuck in the way that I was angry. I was always like, okay, well, that's not the way to go. But I did find this treasure chest or this item. So it always felt worth my while.
Yeah, it's a beautiful world. It's worth exploring. Like if it caught my eye, but
totally.
Yeah, it just didn't catch my love.
Sure. Okay. So I definitely want to go into the endings at this point because you beat the air and saw that ending, and it basically says, okay, now you're the heir. You're the one who's trapped because there has to be an heir.
Yeah.
And that's that. The game does a great job of giving you that story if you want to know it. There are instruction manual pages that tell the entire story, and people have done the deed and worked through and translated the entirety of that thing.
Doesn't surprise
so it's all
me.
there. And like I said before, this was a unsatisfying ending for me. And it made me want to know, okay, I know that I can either take my rightful place or share my wisdom. How do I share my wisdom? So do you want to say anything about the ending, ending A that you got?
No, I was like, good? Cool, did it, done. We're there.
All right, Tunic over, game out of the system. We're done.
Yeah, and maybe I would have felt differently if it wasn't, if I didn't have those feelings towards the end of the game, that I did have. Yeah.
I could understand that. So this is where it got interesting for me because I wanted to share my wisdom. And I looked and looked and looked in my book to understand what to do. Mm-hmm. And I think now would be a good opportunity, if we will turn our attention
to open the Tunic manual.
So did you see this? Have you seen
Yes, I saw the front
cover
page. Yeah.
Okay, so the cover is like an actual NES booklet. It looks like The Legend of Zelda. They use that gold coloring, they use the red lettering. It is so beautiful. And definitely the instruction manual, again, if you're in the spoiler section of of our episode, you might want to avert your eyes, because there's so much information that once you get these pages, you're like, oh my God, that's what I need to do. But this is great. This is the last page you get if you've done everything. And it's that cover. It's a little message from the developer saying you're awesome.
Yeah.
And that you should do this one last thing.
And don't dispose of or eat this document.
That's right. Very important.
Very important.
We get the signatures of all the people who worked on it. Just so much love that was crafted into this. And I won't spend as much time on every page, but I did want to take a second to really show how beautiful this is.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, we get this little star. Can you see my mouse when I'm?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool. So the star, like, you're like, oh, okay, there's something that someone is making a note of. I think this is one of the first pages actually the table of contents, it takes a while to get to, if I'm remembering.
Yeah.
And we get the story. Here's the entire story in a completely different language, so we have no idea what it is.
But it does have sentences or words highlighted, which is cool. It gives you an idea.
Yeah, civilization, holy cross, power to defy death, all very interesting things that we want to know. Also, this monolith, that's important.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But it's just all told through pictures that we can discern, at least. And these headings, a terrible power rises. And these are pages that you get, like, you'll get page 6 and 7, and then you'll get page 3, and like, it's all
right. You don't get them always in order necessarily, but these are very reminiscent of the tapestry at the beginning of Wind Waker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it definitely harkens to that. But yeah, this is just kind of exposition, and it shows you a bunch of this stuff.
I will say this page I loved, because you get that first one again, the same battle fought uncountable times, and you don't see the other side of the fight until after the air beats you the first time.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought that was
so
cool.
Beautiful. You do get a little bit of sword. A hint over here. Yeah. Because we see that is the sword that the air is carrying. So incredible. Mm-hmm. You look at these pages, and there are hints that you just don't know until you get into it more. And this page is a good example of that. And we'll kind of go over that a little bit later. But this, state data management, you can continue new game. Obviously, these are things that we've seen before. But there's a little drawing of a fox, and there's this gold down here.
I can't help but think, like, it's pointing to the save data. I never noticed this till now, but I can't help but think it's that harken back to the old Zelda games, where if you name your character a certain name, you get a bonus within the game.
Sure. That is not the case here, but good observation. Okay. For sure.
So you know what it is.
I know a lot. So again, this is the part that I looked up, because I was like on the precipice of figuring parts of it out. And then I got to a point where I was like, let me look it up. Okay, I was not going to figure that out. That's a little out of my wheelhouse. That's a little too in depth that I probably wouldn't have done on my own.
Oh man, what is it?
I know. Well, we'll get to it.
Okay.
So see, that's the intriguing part for me. But all these pages, it follows a certain style. So there's always these images, like, you don't know what this is down here, but it's kind of next to Dark Tomb. And it looks like a lantern. And then lo and behold, you play the game enough, you get a lantern. Oh, okay. That was what I needed to kind of go into the Dark Tomb. But then there's just like, there's this like gold door here. Like, what is that about? And the game screen is so beautiful. It's that CRT monitor, which harkens back to the days of the NES. And this is a screen that we've seen before in countless different games. It's just showing everything that we need.
For the listeners, thank you for coming to Brian's TED Talk.
Thank you. I know it's probably not as boring or as interesting for someone listening. So I'll do a better job of kind of.
Well, maybe I'll have to post this like I did the magazine covers.
That's right.
I'll have to put this out there on social media so people can see it.
But yeah, I mean, the thing that strikes me is the game gives you some English and then some of this kind of runic language, and it's your job to figure out the context of that runic language and what it might mean. There are pictures, the fox is looking at obviously this is his stamina all the way down, and he says everything hurts way more when I'm tired.
That might be a little heavy-handed, but it's good.
Yeah, but that's what the game does. It says like, it doesn't say like, oh, double damage. It says like, it hurts a little more. Yeah. And you kind of have to realize like, okay, that's the stamina and 0 SP. Okay, that makes sense at this point. Here's a picture of a controller, and it just shows little things. And there's just some flavor. There's like a little square, a gold square here in the background. Map stuff, and just like this has a style to
covering movements.
It shows pictures of the movements. It shows does it even say it here with the dust, because that's where it kind of describes like
it says it on the next page.
It does. Okay. Yeah. Invulnerability.
Basically, it gives you what your iframes are. Yeah. It tells you what your iframes are, which is cool. It's very cool. It gives you an idea. And I thought it was interesting the way they did the timing of the dodge. The iframes felt in an interesting place in that dodge. It didn't line up the way my Dark Souls brain wanted it to. So
sure.
It played with the timing of when to dodge incoming projectiles and attacks.
Absolutely. Yep.
You really have to wait till like almost the last moment to dodge.
More pages of just how to move around. Again, they just have this like gold everywhere that really kind of harkens to that style that they're going for. I love these pages. It shows all your different items. And this is where like, yes, I know what a sword looks like. I know what it should do. But what is this like little picture? It says effigy, and it's a picture of me. And like, what does that do? And there's another thing that says lore. And the game doesn't tell you what these items do, but you kind of just have to use them or use your context clues to figure out what's going on. Just amazing. Here's that page where it shows the garden. Knight. It shows
that's the one.
Try to be this strong. Attack 3, defense 3.
And in the page before that, it shows you how to upgrade your attack and everything else. So
yes.
I was like, how am I supposed to know that? Oh, it's right here for me.
Yeah. And even on this page, which I don't know at what point you get it, but it shows,
I think you assuredly get it before the garden night.
Right. Yeah. This thing is level 3 and it goes to 4, but you only really know that if you're paying attention and reading your manual. I don't think there's anything here that was really mind blowing.
They go over what some of the charms do in the page prior.
Okay.
But that's basically just telling you what to do and how to use these things in the world. Right. They also tell you about throwing a coin in the well. The next page is cool because it tells you how to open those doors that you have. This was another one of those moments that I was talking about earlier where you run into these doors and they have like a sheen to them. And you just kind of think, oh, I will press a button or something will happen to open those later, or I'll have an item. And no, as a matter of fact, you just had to stand in front of them and push the D-pad in certain directions to unlock the doors. I thought that was cool. You had the ability all along. Like
you had it all along. Yeah. And this kind of tells you like, oh, here's some points of interest that you should be trying that. Some of these still don't really make sense to me. So I know what the fairies things are. Do you know what that is? Fairies?
I don't remember if I do. Yeah.
Okay. It shows your bed. So some of these are places where you should go to use this ability man, that was so cool. And there's other pages that really hammer home what to do with that. This was an important page for me where it shows an image of the fox in kind of that dead ghost state with all the different HP, attack, SP, MP, all the different things around him. Because I used this to really, it shows on the map where you need to go to get these things fixed. And the attack was the one that I had such a hard time with because I was looking for this image. It's just an image with 3 little trees. that is in the book. All of these are in the book somewhere, and you just have to find them.
Yeah.
So I looked everywhere for this image to know, like, okay, this is where I need to go. And it took me forever to find it.
I do like that it gives you an idea, because you, depending on how you play, how you approach combat, there are items that you're going to want to prioritize. And it says, hey, here's where they are. You know, put whatever order you want on these and prioritize whichever ones you want and go get them.
Exactly. Pages with just big
this is the
images.
one where it was like, hey, hold down the button for the monoliths, and you don't get it till after you've walked by like 3 or 4 monoliths.
Exactly.
And you're like,
oh, it just says
now
3
I have
seconds, press that key.
So this was one of those moments where I'm like, oh, that's so cool, but it's also like, man, now I have to remember how to get back to some of those monoliths, and I don't remember how. So thank you for the heads up with the journal, but I did not keep one when playing this. I definitely did not keep one.
Yeah. Pictures with the maps was always cool, because you would open your map and it would show a little figure of you. That was important. If it didn't show the figure, I would have not had much use for the maps. It would have been a lot harder to kind of go through that.
Blocks the way to the boss, blocks the way to the bell tower, will kill you.
Yeah. I love all the little illustrations of the enemies. It's so
cool. Really, really well done. And I do like the little names that go with them and a brief description of the enemy. Slorm, like the little slimy ones are slorms.
Yep.
It's great. It is like, you know, those old pages you'd see of Miyamoto's work for the original NES Zelda, and the keys and everything and how he named them, and little drawings of them. It's obvious that a lot of attention went into this.
Exactly. I think at one point you had texted me like, oh, I can upgrade or I need to get more bombs, and I know I can, I just can't remember where to go. It's on your map. Did you notice the little eyes, the glowing eyes?
Oh gosh, yeah, but you can zoom in. I'm like, I can't see that, but you can zoom in. So
you can zoom in, and these little glowing eyes show up for that ghost that sells you stuff in a couple different places on the map. So I thought that was so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. I remember. Yep. There's some doors here that you can open up that you wouldn't know, but someone wrote that they found some doors there.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Nothing interesting here. It is cool on the maps where those hand-drawn things come into play, because it kind of shows you, hey, someone else played this game. They found the secrets. This would have been cool for like GoldenEye in that Egyptian level, to someone write the sequence to get to the golden gun. Right. That's what this reminds me of. It was just unbelievable to me. So these are all the map pages.
What's that tower in the sky?
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
That's the library.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That's the
library. It makes sense. Makes sense.
Because you have to, do all the things here, and then you get shot up into the sky.
Right.
So yeah, but this was a cool thing where I would get a map of the Frog's domain and not know where it is. Like, this map has,
because you get the Frog's domain map early in the game.
You get it early, so you're like, okay, well, I need to go there at some point, but I don't know where that is. But then you get this other maps page that says, over here is the Frog's domain. Right. It doesn't tell you how to get there, but that it is here. So you should probably go explore it.
I did like that section of the game as well, because it felt like the enemies there were very different from the ones you faced before, which was cool. I like that it was like, oh, cool, I have to reassess combat. Every time now I approach an enemy, it has different movements, different speeds, different ways it attacks. And I really like it. Still felt fresh at this point.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I got tripped up because, there's this like gold thing over here, and I was like, oh man, maybe there's something to do with that. And it like goes all the way over here and up here, but I couldn't figure that one out. So the boss of scavengers, this really demonic picture,
it's cool.
And you're
cool
like,
drawing.
It's a cool drawing, just blacks, reds, dark blues, so cool.
I'd wear it on a shirt.
I would absolutely wear this on a shirt. This is a badass shirt.
Same with the librarian picture too.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool drawings. Mako, if that's how you pronounce the name, did a very good job with those.
Mako, the Mako reactor.
Could be Mako. Here's those coffee stains, like you were saying. Very cool, right? So this is the point where you get the so it's just a picture of the fox and a Konami code sitting here, and I was like, what is this? There's a little picture of a D-pad, a little picture of a keyboard
Directional
arrows.
keys, yeah.
Depending on what system you're playing on, you might need a little help determining what that is. And then 3 pictures of some doors. This one, once I got this page, I was like, no way. No, they're like, what? I need to go to that door, and I'm gonna press these buttons on the D-pad. And then the moment you do that, you get a little jingle, you get a Zelda jingle, and it opens. And that was such a cool part. And it solidified, I could have done this the entire time. And that is so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. And then we get more images of
like how the directions tie into the doors, and because there's a pattern on the door that you have to follow. And it really does a good job if you're paying attention to the manual of telling you how to do that thing.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So I think I got this page over here, and it just says take your rightful place. It says, so clearing the game, take your rightful place. Okay, that's what I need to do.
That's what we did. Yeah, that's the one.
To beat the game. I need to defeat the air.
Right.
But then at a certain point, you get or seeking an ending at the top. So the full sentence would be clearing the game or seeking an ending. So did you get this page?
I don't think so. You
don't think so?
No, okay. I got the first one. I did get the first one.
You got the first one. And I'm pretty sure the game gives you this one because you're like, okay, well, I need to go defeat it. But then it gives you an option B, which is share your wisdom. So there are 2 ways to beat this game is what you should be thinking at this point. Use the power of the Holy Cross and traverse the golden path. What does that mean?
What does it mean, Brian? What does it mean?
This is very much Holy Cross, Golden Path. Very important to understand those terms as you move along. And throughout this entire book, you get Holy Cross, Golden Path. It says these things all the time. At this page, they're talking about fairies. What fairies? Like, I haven't come into any fairies. There's a big fat 100%. So you need to get all of these to do something special. And then this page in particular is very important. Did you get this page?
No.
Do you remember seeing it?
No.
Okay. This is the most
Maybe integral... I got that. Maybe I did get that one.
I think you probably got this.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
But I didn't have any context. Is it pages in the manual?
It is.
Yeah.
It is a big golden box, and it has a bunch of pages on here. And I want to return to this in a second.
Okay.
But shared on that page is the door in the mountains. So the game is pairing the door in the mountains and this golden box. Yeah. Gold.
So I'm sure if you've made it this far, you've played the game. But in case you haven't, you do come across this door in the mountain, in a mountainous area of the map that you are unable to open. And you could get through that ending, that beating the air without doing any of the extra stuff. And you will never open this door. So it very much is something left, obviously showing you that there is more in the game.
Right. I got this page with the numbers and thought, these are page numbers. Like, that was my immediate thought upon looking at it. I didn't know what to do with that information, but I had it. We're getting to the very end of the book here. I just want to wrap up a few more things before I tell you how to beat the B ending. So it shows you all of these little charms and what they do if you follow the information on there, which is so cool. These are pages that you get at the very end, the memo pages. Cool. That was in every single instruction manual. Here's where I was like, oh, that's the ice dagger plus the wand. You can combine those to do a different attack. More up, down, left, right kind of stuff. So cool. So very cool.
It is.
And that's the end of it. Well,
what?
Hold on.
Wait.
I don't know. It's doing weird stuff. There is a back page that I guess is not showing up. So we will move on from that. But let's go back to here's how to beat the game and amass all of your knowledge. There are these numbers, and this is a start point, and we go to number 12. So like you surmised, we need to... What is going on with this?
I don't know.
Something weird happened here. Oh, okay.
Page 12.
I got it. Page 12. We're on page 12. Okay. Anything jumping out at you that would determine what we should do with page 12? Anything at all?
What? No.
No, right?
Well, I mean, like there's the thing in the crosshairs, but that's just telling you what button to use to target something.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So the game is trying to get you to think, okay, I'm doing the golden path. I'm on this page with all these gold numbers. It's telling me to go to page 12. What is gold on this page? This is kind of yellow. This is the sword. Wait, what is this here?
There's a little box there.
There's a little box. I pointed that out. Okay. So we have this little box on page 12, and we were looking at boxes on page 49.
Right.
So this box kind of corresponds to this box.
Oh,
and what do we have here?
What direction to take? So go left.
So we need to go back to here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. And then we need to fill out up, left, down, right. That's what this box is filled out.
So now you're on 16.
So you need to go to 6. Oh, geez. You need to go to 16. And what is here? Okay. There's no box. I don't see any little box. Oh, but wait.
Oh, I do see one.
Oh, wait. Okay. So there's a box here. There's a box here. There's a box here. Box here. So it looks like this line kind of goes over here and down.
I can see why you like this.
So we can see that it goes right and then down. It doesn't go all the way down, so it must go right. And then it goes up. It doesn't go all the way up, so it must go right. So that's the sequence. Right, down, right, up, right. And then you fill that in on the page again. And you just do that for every single square. And then you have the sequence
of how to get through the
door.
Boy,
and it's
that's
cool,
a
lot of things that
it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. And I don't think I would have figured it out.
Yeah. So you did it.
I did it. And then it gives you the true ending. So once you go through that door, then you get that first page that says basically, thanks for playing. And then it says, well, you should pay a visit to a certain someone. So at this point, you should have all the pages in the book, and then you can give it to the heir, and then you restore the heir to their actual body form, and the game ends. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So that was fun. I wish I had done it all on my own to be able to get to that point, because I feel like if I had seen the way to get those numbers and get the golden path, it would have been mind-blowing.
But you did it.
I did it with the help of a guide at that point. But
you did it.
Yeah. It's cool.
I do like that it's like share your knowledge and you give the instruction manual to them. That's cool. That is,
you give the completed Tunic instruction manual, and that is the end of the game.
Very good. Very good.
I like it. I like Tunic.
Yeah, I think you do. So what are your thoughts on it?
I would say the game's absolute biggest strength is that instruction manual. And I feel like you need to have that past with video games and instruction manuals and all those things that we love.
I don't know. I have the past.
Okay.
But I also am not that gamer anymore,
Sure. I mean, none of us are, because instruction manuals aren't a thing.
Yeah.
But, coming off of Nintendo Power episode magazine covers episode, and just going through books of video games and reading and understanding and figuring things out that way without the internet, that was a time. And this game does a good job of returning to that time and giving you all those feelings again. And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, it was great. And it definitely, to me, was the strength of the game as well.
Yeah.
It's fine for 8 hours, 10 hours of it. Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
As soon as you start throwing in like unnecessary padding in my eyes, now this is totally in my eyes. It just kind of was like, all right, I had the nostalgia. I had the fun. I'm good.
Yeah. I think you can get most of it there. I think seeing all these cool things elevated it just that much more for me.
Mm-hmm. So, game of the year for you right now, as it stands?
No. I think there are other games that
Vampire Survivors.
As far as just a video game, absolutely, that's got the better gameplay. But yeah, man, I don't know. There's some games out there.
Games. Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I've yet to get through a chunk of Elden Ring, so that could still get elevated. I love Horizon, so it's the Wild West right now, man.
Yeah.
I've played like all of those games are on my top 10 so far. I would say, unless something blows me out of the water, they're there.
So you do plan on playing more Elden Ring?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Elden Ring
I would say the one thing I would say to you if you're considering to play more Elden Ring,
definitely going to,
is put those foolish ambitions to rest.
I beat that guy. He is dead forever. It's Godric that's giving me problems now.
Oh, he's a fun one too. Mm-hmm.
He's a bad boy, and I don't like him.
I can see that. Prepare for a few more roadblocks is all I will say.
Okay. If Godric is giving me problems.
No, I mean, actually, no, I think he, as far as bosses go in that game, he's on the level, you know? Yeah. Like he's fun. He's difficult, but he gives you a good idea of what to expect.
Okay.
But yeah, you're going to run into roadblocks. Like it's going to happen. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll close the book on Tunic. So I think we can lay that one to our foolish ambitions to rest on that.
Yeah.
Let's say we get into our mission debrief.
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, Ryan, what do you have for me this week?
So this week, I finally got around to watching The Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman on HBO Max. And I think you should. It definitely wears its inspiration on its sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
As far as highly inspired by Seven, they make that pretty apparent, and it seems to pay homage to that film and The Crow, similar vibe to like the Crow movie too. It's always very good though. Really cool. I thought Robert Pattinson was a great Batman. Maybe not Bruce Wayne. I don't know. It was weird. The characterization is different in this film. I will say it's not about his portrayal, but
is he the darkest knight? Is this the darkest Batman movie?
I think unquestionably it is, but it's cool. It has a different feel to it. He is earlier on in his career than other Batmen. So it was neat. Very neat to see. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm really happy to hear that there is a sequel coming out. They now announced it. I think everybody should see this movie if they have HBO Max. It's kind of a no-brainer. I don't want to give a lot away, but everyone, their portrayal of their role was awesome, I thought. And it really did a good job of selling the film, because at times the beats the story took were like, okay, like seen it before kind of thing. And like I said, it wears that inspiration on its sleeve. And there were moments where it's like, oh, you're so dark and gritty, bro, you know, but because of how well the characters were portrayed, it never felt too far of a stretch in my head. It felt like, it felt like a real world that these people lived in. Go see it. It's great.
Is it better than The Dark Knight?
Oh man, what?
Is that a whole list that we need to go through at some point?
Is it better than The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Geez, you are trying to make people hate me. Either way, I answer this.
I would not to blow a list, but I would say The Dark Knight is my favorite Batman movie.
I think that's fair to say. Absolutely. Okay. No, I think that's absolutely fair to say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
But it's not. It's so different. It's really different from The Dark Knight.
Sure.
I don't think it's a fair comparison.
I gotcha. Okay. Fair enough.
In some ways, it is better than The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Like in some ways, you know. Yeah. I've personally found it that way, but you know, maybe not everybody will.
Sure. When I have an extra 3 hours, I will absolutely watch that movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like 3.5 or something.
It's
right?
bad. Like, it's gonna have to be a two-seater for me.
Yeah.
Very good. I want to watch it for sure. So I went to Legoland this week for the very first time, and that was a lot of fun. We went just the family. During the week, there was absolutely nobody there.
I bet.
It was so dead. which was amazing because we got to ride all the rides. Like sometimes we would ride a ride and they would be like, do you want to ride again?
Oh,
and
how cool.
We would just sit there again and ride it again. My son loved it. He's almost 4 and he rode pretty much every ride.
Wow.
I think there was like one that he couldn't. Yeah, we had a great time. I bought something there. I bought the Home Alone set.
Oh, wow.
So it's the whole McAllister household. And I am
cool.
very excited to do that when it's I forget. It's like 4,000 pieces, I want to say.
Wow.
Don't ask me how much I spent on it, but that is one that I'm very much looking forward to putting together.
That's interesting. You sent me pictures of the Star Wars sets and the Nintendo sets, and you went with Home Alone.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that we decided this is one that we would want to proudly display in our home. Kayla doesn't care about Star Wars, and the Nintendo ones, like, they're cool. Like the NES one is cool. It just didn't seem like it'd be a lot to put together. Like it's a box.
Well, there's stuff in there. Like doesn't it unfold? Am I wrong in that?
Yeah, so there is stuff in the question block one. Right. I don't know about the NES one though. I think it's just a box.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Home Alone one, it opens like a dollhouse and it has like electronics to it. So that was one that we were very excited to put on our shelf once we finish that.
Great for the holidays too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's probably when we'll be able to finish it. But yeah, Legoland, great place. We stayed at the actual hotel there, and that was amazing. Great for a 4-year-old. I think their suggestion is people under or over 12 probably won't get a kick out of it. Obviously, adults, being there with your kids is the fun part too. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. So that's my mission debrief is go to Legoland. And
very cool. Very cool. Maybe I will.
Have you been?
I have not been.
Oh, you would like it. I think you would like it.
I'm sure I would. I love Legos.
Yeah.
Want to talk about nostalgia.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have a show for next week, I believe. Yeah. So next week we will do the top 10 gaming hills we will die on. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it is cool because it could be things where we know we might be wrong, but it doesn't matter to us, or we are so sure we're right that, like, damn everybody for being wrong. I have to put a lot of thought into this. I don't have any prepared, so
me neither.
It'll be interesting for sure.
It'll be fun. Cool. Well, if that's it, I think we should say goodbye.
Absolutely.
And as always, thank you so much for listening. You should watch this episode too, because I have not, honestly, I've not seen anyone go through the instruction manual, as you should not if you haven't played the game. But if you are looking for that in-depth discussion, look at the manual with us, stay a while and listen. But yeah, we will see you all next week. Goodbye.
See you.